What is up, y'all? This is the Gateway Cup 2024. This is the CAT2 3 race at Giro De La Montagna. That's the ACC day on Sunday. And spoiler alert, it looks like this is one of my last races as a CAT2. Getting my camera situated, but yeah, despite that bad clip-in, good race. This is day 3 of Gateway, and it is the first day that's not basically a NASCAR track. So it is a 4-corner criterium, but this first corner pinches down a little bit. It's a little bit narrower than anything we've seen in the series yet, and there is a bit of a hill. We're about to enter corner 2. Between corners 2 and 3 there is a bit of a hill. I would say this course is a lot like Sunny King, except for the hill on the backside is not gradual this whole way. You come out of the corner and it's actually down for a second, and then the hill kicks up and you do the entire hill in the second half. So it's steeper, but it's also shorter, and you come into it with a bit of speed off this downhill. So it really didn't feel like a whole lot. So this course isn't super technical or super selective by any means, but it is about twice as technical and selective as the other courses we've seen this weekend, just in the fact that it is narrower. It has some corners that you might actually have to get off the pedals for a second, depending on where you are in the field and how fast you're taking it, and also the fact that it has anything resembling a real hill. With all that in mind, we're a little bit more wary of a breakaway today than we have been the previous 2 days. They've both been field sprints, but this is the first one that looks like it could reasonably break up. Speaking of those field sprints, we've got a young missile of a sprinter, Isaac Bailey, guest riding with us. He races off-road for Dirt Camp Racing, also sponsored by Domestique Coffee. So good synergy there. Met him at Tulsa, doesn't have a road team for this year, so we asked him to guest ride for us here. He was kind of plan A1 on days 1 and 2, especially with how flat it is, and his sprint numbers are bonkers. So just get him anywhere in sort of decent position, he's going to get it done. He was 3rd on day 1 and 1 on day 2. So coming into today, he's got the leader's jersey for the Omnium overall, and that's also putting us on high alert for breakaways. If a break does go, we want to put somebody in it for sure, and we kind of have a list of like 3 to 5 guys that are somewhere close to him on the Omnium that we want to be watching for. And if those guys are in a breakaway and we're there, our plan is to just not pull, sit on the back, and don't do anything. The hope there is that a breakaway, if someone is fully a passenger, they're not going to go to the line. If they do go to the line and we happen to just sit on the back the whole time, whoever we have in that break is going to win it and take maximal points. But probably if you have a breakaway and someone is doing zero work, you're probably going to reshuffle the deck, which is what we're hoping for there. But if we get into a breakaway and none of those guys that are a threat on the overall are there, all of our guys kind of have the go-ahead to go for the stage win if that is possible. So we do have a couple of guys on patrol early up front looking for moves, making sure to cover things. I've got my eye on it to make sure I see a white jersey and green bibs up there. It's really awesome that our kid is so easy to spot. I can kind of look over the top of everybody, just glance as people are coming around the corner and spot where we are to make sure that we have somebody in position. I'm just using these first few laps to kind of get the flow of the course and figure out kind of where I'm going to save energy and where I'm going to move up. Generally what I come to is as we're going on this uphill side, on the back side, I'm staying to the left. The wind is coming right to left here, so it's left to right on the downhill, and this is kind of my plan. If I stay to the left, I'm on the sheltered side, and then coming into this corner 3, it's actually not really a penalty to be super inside. This is the slowest corner on the course because it is at the top of the hill, so you could really like inside that without having to brake or like take much of a penalty versus being on the other side. Then I'm trying to sort of like slide to the right where possible here and get toward the right side coming out of this corner. There was one really big bump at the beginning of that corner, but it wasn't really a problem. So then I'm on the sheltered side on the downhill side here, and where possible I would use that to move up. This is a decent example of that from a little bit later in the race, taking corner 4 outside, holding a little bit more speed, and then generally a door would open on the downwind side over here on the right, and I kind of like this for 2 reasons. One is that I'm sheltered on the right and I can make up some position sheltered from the wind, and also I kind of liked being out here on the wider side in corner 1. Because this downhill was so fast and then corner 1 was the tightest corner on the course, my big concern there was preserving momentum more than it was moving up. I really just wanted to find an open line and be able to hold my speed through that corner as much as possible. I knew that if I could do that consistently throughout the race, it would preserve my legs compared to the guys who were really trying to dive the inside, getting caught up and having to slow down and accelerate a bunch. And you can see right there, much faster line. There are several guys who came out shoulder to shoulder with me, but they slowed down a lot more than I did, and they're having to do a lot more watts out of the corner right here to keep up with me. And I feel like I did a really good job of like hitting these little checkpoints throughout the race, having these little goals, even if they were not at the front, things that I was doing to keep myself fresh, keep myself riding efficient. And I think sometimes even just having those things, even if there's not a best way to do it, just having little things you're focusing on, little checkpoints to hit, at least for me, it keeps me calm and focused throughout the race. As I mentioned, I was trying to stay calm and efficient, and that'll become evident why here in a minute, but I was also trying to keep one eye up the road just to make sure that we had something covered and we had someone in position the whole race. And I wanted to drop this footage in from the live stream. They didn't live stream our whole race. There were just little bits of it. I guess they were testing out the live stream equipment, testing out this gimbal off the lead car situation. But you can see Cade from our team, second wheel. Cade had an awesome ride today. Cade was super active in all of these races, but especially this one. This is probably like the hardest of the three thus far, and Cade was always up there, always covering things, as was Elliott, who took a really strong look off the front, probably 2/3 of the way into the race. We were really hoping he would be able to get something going with a few strong guys, but nobody seemed to want to go with him, and that came back. But it did take the pressure off of me, off of Isaac, off the rest of us in the group, which was super helpful for this finale, which we are getting down to right here. This is about 7 laps to go. I'm looking around. I find Isaac over here on the left. He is in the Domestique shorts, but he's got on the leader's jersey for the race. I spot him right there, roll up next to him and say, "What's up?" It looks like it's coming to a field sprint, in which case he's plan A if he's feeling good, so I just want to kind of take the temperature right here.
Isaac, how's it going, dude? Oh yeah, let's get it done.
All right, asked and answered. That is pretty clear, pretty cut and dry what I got to do. I'm keeping one eye on Isaac from this point forward, and then also making sure that we are, not necessarily together. He doesn't have to be right on my wheel, but just where I can get to him, and that we are both moving forward, not losing a bunch of position, especially as we come down to the finale. I think that was about 7 to go that we linked up. Generally in these big races, if there is someone on the team I'm trying to find, or someone I'm trying to mark or whatever, whoever I'm looking for, I start looking for them around 10 to go. That gives me a few laps to sort of work my way to their position if I need to. And then kind of from 5 to go on, you have to sort of start staking your claim at the front. You could wait a little longer and try to slide up the inside or something, but there's so many people trying to do that at the same time. I find that a lot of those doors get slammed in your face, and you really can't control what the people in front of you do. So you can find a line you think is good, and if someone else chooses that line and then grabs a bunch of brake, it is no longer a good line. And that happens 5 or 10 times in a row, and you just don't get to the position you need to be. And when I say position at the front, I don't mean first wheel. I just mean that you need to be able to sort of see and respond to the front. If you're in a place where people at the front are moving and you couldn't get there if you wanted to, you're probably a little bit too far back. Some of the best advice I ever heard, I think this was Adam Hansen who said this on Mitch Docker's podcast maybe, but talking about the washing machine effect, which is basically, like the drum of a washing machine is always mixing all the clothes up. You always have riders going forward and always have riders going backwards. You can't really hold an exact position because people are going around you and you're going around people constantly. The advice that really helped me mentally is to accept that the washing machine is going to happen. Just focus on minimizing the size of the circle that you're making. Like, you don't want to be going smashing huge watts to go forward 20 wheels and then letting off and losing another 20. You want to be going 5 forward, 5 backward, and just accept that flow is going to happen and focus on small ways you can take those positions back. Here's Isaac right here in front of me. We're in striking distance of the front, coming down inside 5 to go. Things are looking good. Here we are inside 2 to go. I see Isaac up ahead right there, and just slide up the outside to link back up with him. This is where we really do need to be like together if we're gonna help each other. So I slide up his outside here and then start to work my way around. And really good race instincts from him right here. He rightfully assesses the moment. We got a lot of guys sending their sort of like last flyer of the day. This is great simple communication from Isaac. He gets on my wheel and then lets me know exactly what he needs. I'm all in to empty the tank, whatever needs to be done to get him in the position he needs to be in. About to be at the top of 1 to go. We got some good speed and momentum coming into the hill and some attacking riders to bridge to, so I am going to try and hold this speed across the steepest part of the hill here and bridge us across to this little move that's going, which will put us in really good position going into the last lap. This is kind of what you always want, is someone else who's going to burn a match a little bit too early, especially when it's just down to the 2 of us from Skyway. So we don't have enough manpower here at the front to take the actual front for me to be eating wind this early. We've got to kind of surf these surges forward, and that was a great instinct from Isaac to see that surge going and say, that's going to string it out. We can slot in right where we need to be. He's capable of doing a lot of this himself, but to use me at those strategic moments where you need to push out into the wind and do big watts to keep him from having to put his nose in the wind and go across solo, keeps his sprint a little bit fresher, keeps him a little bit quicker in the finale, which is fast approaching as we come through the lap. I think we're gonna hear the bell for 1 to go right here. And it's hard to tell from this video, but there actually is one rider from Milligan just off the front as we come through the line with 1 to go. This is another good time for me to use a match. This pop is another really good use of my dwindling matchbook. It keeps our momentum as those 3 start to look at each other. It brings this one Milligan rider back, and it also gets us cleanly through the 2 most technical corners on the final lap. He tells me to back off a little bit. I think we were gapping people more than he wanted to, and we're also trying to keep his legs fresh, so it's not helpful if I'm making him go way over his limit. We come through this corner, and I take a glance over my left shoulder and realize there's a group of like 8 maybe surging past me. I tell Isaac, hey, you're on your own, meaning grab that wheel. He actually he told me after the race he was trying to let more than 1 go here because he didn't want to be too far forward out of the last corner, so he lets that 1 guy go. These guys all kind of check up, and right at this moment I look over my shoulder. I think my race is done, and I realize it's pretty single file strung out behind me. My race for the win is over, but if I stay on it right here, I could potentially get a top 10, and all I need for my CAT1 points is a top 10 at one of these big races with more than 70 starters. So in about 5 seconds I completely changed my tack in this race from I'm just going to put Isaac in position and be done to I'm back in it for the finish. And I am pretty smoked, so I'm kind of back to those little checkpoints I was talking about earlier in the race. I'm back to like, let's just make it up the hill. I'll dump all the watts I can on the hill and see where I am. Okay, I'm at the top of the hill. I'm still in connection. All right, let's see if I can get up to Aubrey from Motor Mile. I know he'll probably finish decent. All right, another pop to get around to Aubrey. I get to his wheel here in the blue shorts, and then it's like, all right, I just have to stay on his wheel to the finish. Everything I can do, wherever he takes me is where I go. And we get around a couple of more guys here. I roll across the line for 6th on the day, which is good for 6 points, which is good for my category 1. So no more mediocre Cat 2. Isaac does sprint for the win. He came out of that last corner, 3rd wheel. Perfect positioning. It's a long downhill sprint, so the speeds get really, really high. He poked his nose out at exactly the right time. He had that little bit of snap he needed to get around. Yeah, so win on the day, secured the Omnium for the team, and I got the points that I needed. So yeah, can't be mad about that. Super happy with how this race went. Really, really fun day on the bike. Great way to close out the season.